We'll start this regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Directors for Sacramento Metropolitan Fire District, and we'll do so with a pledge to the flag. I'd ask my colleague, Director Wood, to lead us, please.
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Director Wood. Ladies and gentlemen, this open session meeting is videotaped on cablecast on Metro Cable 14 to be replayed on Saturday, June 27, 2015 at 12 p.m. and Monday, June 29, 2015 at 6 p.m. on Channel 14, webcast at www.sacmetrocable.tv. The open session meetings are also available for viewing on the district's website at www.metrofire.ca.gov. We'll now have an opportunity for the public to discuss matters of public interest within the district's jurisdiction, including items on or not on the agenda. Do I have a speaker's card, Madam Clerk?
Yes, there's one speaker this evening, Mr. Roger Mitchell.
Mr. Mitchell, if you'll approach. Thank you, sir. Good evening.
Board Chairman, Board of Directors, Chief Wells and staff. My name is Roger Mitchell, lifelong member of this fire district in the community. I rise tonight to say thank you to two of our members, Director Gary Monk and to Mr. Larry Davis. Director Gary Monk in February held a fundraiser for funds to work on Old Station 111, not the restoration on the engine, but in the engine room where she will be displayed. That was held at the Pancake Palace. It was a bake sale. Most of the restoration crew participated. Director Monk and his wife put in many hours, and what you're looking at is a replica of the check that Director Monk turned over to the Sacramento Metro Public Safety Foundation. And at this time, I would appreciate very much letting Director Monk, as well as maybe Larry Davis approaching the dais off, so that they've spoke about two foundations working together, and this money was turned over on the 17th by Larry Davis and Director Monk to the Rio Linda Alberta Recreation and Park District's Foundation of the Future. And it was done that way specifically because two foundations working together on a project just opens up many doors, I think, for these projects. So if Director Monk or Mr. Larry Davis would like to say just a couple of words about those two foundations working together, I would consider that an honor. Thank you.
And Mr. Davis, it seems like you have no choice. Come on up. And Director Monk.
Sure. Just want to take the opportunity to one, thank Roger in that we are facilitating their hard work on Station 111 and the restoration of number 2.
Yes, sir.
The fire engine out there, and that project speaks for itself. It is that's a vacant station that this district still owns, and we are leasing it to them for a period of time, and they are maintaining the station in good working condition, and also carrying out a restoration project in the facility of one of the old apparatus. So it's a great project, and the Sacramento Metro Public Safety Foundation is supporting them, and it's an honor to be able to help out. So credit where credit due is Roger and his team are the ones that really deserve the credit. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Davis.
Just a little bit about what went on with this. I support the restoration of the equipment out at Old Station 111 and the making of that museum that we've worked on for years and years and years to try and get moved down the road and completed. This check that you all seen represents 5.5 hours at a bake sale, an old-fashioned bake sale that friends of mine allowed us to use a restaurant on White Avenue, and we baked and baked and baked, and in 5.5 hours, we're able to raise $705 on bake sale goods. And it represents what I've said on all the projects that we've worked on, is that if everybody does a little, nobody has to do a lot. This was 5.5 hours, $705. And it goes towards the items that we need at the station, just odds and ends, whether it's a piece of sheetrock or nuts and bolts or things that we don't have to go to the foundation or somebody else to get the funding for. We can raise little bits of money ourselves to be able to further the project along. But it's all for a good cause, all for the people that are working there, and I appreciated working on it, and I like to bake anyway, so it worked out good, so.
I would tell you, directors, that the dream, even though it might be a long time coming, is when you look in this engine room, not only will you be looking in a 1945 style engine room, but you're going to be looking in a showcase, if you will. Certainly it will look a lot nicer, maybe than it was even new, but yet the 1940s style. So I think this district, in taking the opportunity to preserve one of their oldest stations with this in mind, it's been a pleasure to work on the project. But listening to Director Monk and Mr. Larry Davis, without the money and the support of this district and these two people, it doesn't matter what the group does. You need that support, you need that money. So thank you for the opportunity this evening to speak to you. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we'll move on to the next couple of items, and I just want to make the audience aware of the fact that after we take our consent agenda, we'll move into closed session and take care of closed session items, which should be relatively quick to do, and then we'll be back to handle the rest of the items on our agenda this evening. And with that, I'll entertain a motion for consent.
Mr. Chair, I'll move the consent.
I have a first.
Oh,
Okay, and I have a second. Any questions relative to the items on consent? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Director Monk,
Aye.
Orzali,
Aye.
Clark, Scheidegger,
Aye.
Wood,
Aye.
Kelly,
Aye.
Jones,
Aye.
Barnes,
Aye.
and Gould.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay,
And Can I, pardon the interruption,
No, you're
Mr.
fine.
Chair? We do have another speaker this evening. She
Excellent.
joined us.
Okay, very
After
good.
that.
Let's go ahead and we'll backtrack a little bit, no problem. We like to have the public come and chat with us. Ma'am, if you'll introduce yourself for the millions of viewers that are on the TV, don't let that bug you.
Good evening. My name's Deborah DeRosier. I live in Carmichael. I just wanted to offer a suggestion, please, if you wouldn't mind considering putting your board package online for the public to view prior to the meetings. I'd appreciate that.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you for coming and providing us that input. Go ahead and write that down, and Madam Clerk, if you'll make sure that we look at those options for us. Thank you very much for coming, and that's a good idea. That's how a lot of people communicate today, so thank you. All right, with that idea, we'll go into closed session now, and we'll be back in just a few minutes. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we'll go ahead and open back up this session of the scheduled meeting of the Board of Directors and come out of closed session. With that, we'd like our attorney to report out on actions taken in closed session, please.
Yes, here is the closed session report. Pursuant to Government Code, Section 54956.9, the board met in closed session to consider the workers' compensation claims of Anthony Castros and Frederick McKinley. On the Castros matter, by a unanimous vote, the board voted to extend the settlement authority. On the McKinley matter, on a vote of 8-1 with Director Wood voting nay, the board voted to extend settlement authority on that matter as well. The board, pursuant to Section 54957.6, met with the district's chief negotiator, labor negotiator, Fire Chief Wells. No action was taken.
Thank you very much, sir. All right, we'll now move on to action items for this evening. We'll start with action item number 1, extension of Metro Fire Aircraft Support Contract with DynCorp. Chief Lozano.
Hey, good evening, directors, Chief Wells. So this morning I'm here to present this proposal for extension of the DynCorp contract with for the helicopter maintenance contract to DynCorp. This contract that will be extended, this is the second extension of the current contract that was negotiated in 2012. This extension would start July 1st, 2015, and go through June 30th of 2015.
16.
Or 2016, sorry about that. This extension also carries with it, with the contract of the ability to cancel this contract at any time by either party with a 30-day written notice. This, again, this has been in place since 2012. This is the same contract. We've had this contract. DynCorp has been our maintenance contractor since 2007. This contract was negotiated again in 2012 and would be anticipated the cost for the next 12 months of the extension would be $179,000 over the next 12 months. The staff recommends that the Board of Directors authorize staff to proceed and execute the extension of this aircraft support contract with DynCorp, and I will take any questions at this time.
Thank you, Chief. Questions for the chief on this particular item?
I was wondering, as I looked through, I was unable to determine, they are responsible for parts to some extent. And I was wondering if there was a figure that they are responsible for. Because when you do the math on the contract, it amounts to about, at their average guy, it amounts to about 2,200 hours or so. And I don't imagine they're full-time, so some of that's got to include parts. And I was wondering if it is capped at some point or not.
So typically, we are responsible for most of the parts. There are specialized parts that DynCorp gets for us, and that is not, there's not a cap to that, although we don't exercise that very often. There's a 7% administrative fee for any parts that they get above the cost of those parts, and that's in the contract as well. So we don't utilize that as much as we could, I guess.
All right. Okay, thank you.
Chief, I have a couple of questions, if you don't mind. Can you tell me what we spent last year
What we spent last year
for
was...
the same contract?
Yeah, so the estimate this year is based on the last 3 years. This last year, we budgeted for $168,000. We aren't finished with that yet, so I couldn't tell you the exact number.
The exact amount, but roughly the same ballpark. The other question I have for you is why would we ever have double time?
Holidays, sir. Yeah, double time.
Why would we have somebody working on, we have 2 aircraft, don't we?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. I appreciate that. 4th of July is a great example of why we would have double time. Something happens on the aircraft, a light goes off. We get an indicator light or something the day before 4th of July. We call the maintenance contractor. He shows up on the 4th of July to check the aircraft early in the morning to approve it for flight. Those are the situations that have happened.
Oh, they have?
Yes.
We've paid double rate.
We have on holidays.
Firefighters make double time when they're working on a holiday? I didn't think so. Okay, just wanted to make, that stresses me out when I see that kind of stuff. It's like, you know, especially when we have 2 helicopters. If they want 180 grand, maybe they should, I mean, I just don't get it. To me, it's like, wait a minute. In that very unique situation on the day before we light up Sacramento with fireworks, I could see those kinds of situations. But outside of that, double time for coming to work on our helicopters as part of this contract. You know, here's your rate. I almost get the overtime piece if you work longer than 8 hours, but I'm telling you, I'm stressing about this double time stuff. It just doesn't make any sense to me. It doesn't seem very prudent with taxpayer dollars. So I hope that we're using that about a tenth of an hour every year, and
We
really no
negotiated
more.
this contract, one of the reasons why we left that in there, they reduced back in 2012, they reduced the lead time, straight time, and they increased the overtime and the double time. And the reason it was a savings to us is because we controlled how much overtime and how much double time that we actually use.
Well, I really hope that we use that double time almost in the most extreme emergency, and I can't imagine with an organization with 2 helicopters.
To my recollection, we've only ever used it on the 4th of July.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I move that we approve or authorize staff to proceed with the execution of the extension of the aircraft support contract.
I have a
with
first.
Second.
I have a second. Any other questions relative to action item number 1? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Director Monk,
Aye.
Orzali,
Aye.
Clark.
Aye.
Scheidegger,
Aye.
Wood,
Aye.
Kelly,
Aye.
Jones,
Aye.
Barnes,
Aye.
and Gould.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate it. Now move on to action item number 2, reimbursement agreement amendment, aircraft relocation. Mr. Larry Davis. Mr. Davis, it looks like you're going to be up here for a while, so I want to get a chair.
Directors, Chief Wells, Larry Davis, Chief Development Officer. This first item is a extension of the not-to-exceed amount for a reimbursement agreement for moving the aircraft from the ramp here, or Mather, out to the Zinfandel training site. So back in June 13th of 2013, the district accepted a donation of a decommissioned 727 from Federal Express, and subsequent to that, we did a cost estimate of what it would take to move it out to the Zinfandel training site. That cost estimate came in, and we went to the California Fire Rescue Training Authority and requested a reimbursement agreement so that when we moved the aircraft out and incurred those costs, we would be reimbursed by the California Fire Rescue Training Authority for those costs. There was some time interval occurred in there, and as we got closer to the move date, there was a need to change the date of the move, and it again changed it to a Sunday, and it incurred overtime on the part of the movers moving it out to Zinfandel. So the original cost estimate that the reimbursement agreement was based on was exceeded. And so we, last week, went back to the California Rescue Training Authority and requested a approval to increase the reimbursement agreement to this new amount of by $11,252. So that will cover the entire cost of the move out to Zinfandel.
Mr. Chairman, this is an opportunity for us to recover funds, and I think that I would like to move staff's recommendation.
Okay, I got a first and a second on the no-brainer. Good.
Okay?
Mr. Davis, you go ahead and stay there. We'll call the roll on this one and move on to the next one. And I think, Madam Clerk, if you'll call the roll.
Director Monk,
Aye.
Orzali,
Aye.
Clark, Scheidegger, Wood,
Aye.
Kelly,
Aye.
Jones,
Aye.
Barnes,
Aye.
and Gould.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. All right, before we go to items 3, 4, and 5, I think Director Kelly would like to make the board members aware of, I think, a pretty significant issue relative to these items.
Certainly. Mr. Chairman, as the representative for this body on the California Fire Rescue Training, JPA, items 2, 3, and 4 were all discussed at the meeting that occurred last Thursday. And this is an opportunity for this body to go ahead and execute agreements that complete the efforts that were being made there. I believe that they have no, or I should say that they are approved by the staff of this agency, and therefore I believe that we should save Mr. Davis some time of having to explain them at great length. I'm sure we've all read our board packets and moved through these. All right, so carry on. Thank you.
Okay. All right, Mr. Davis, are you okay with that?
I'm fine.
All right, let's go ahead
Your
and
pleasure.
get a synopsis of item number 3.
Sure. This is it's a reimbursement agreement to complete the improvements out at Zinfandel on the USAR props that were federally grant funded. And there were some items when it came time to have the facility certified. There were some items missing, and this is to complete that certification process.
Right.
And per the staff report, there is, potentially a grant coming our way to cover that through the Fire Rescue Training Authority, and so it will all be wrapped up. This is just the cleanup of these items that were not included.
Okay. Questions or comments to item number 3?
And Mr. Chair, I would like to move item number 3, reimbursement agreement, to authorize staff to manage project and execute reimbursement agreement with CFRTA.
Okay, I have a first. Any seconds? I have a second now. Questions and comments? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Director Monk.
Aye.
Orzali. Clark. Scheidegger. Wood.
Aye.
Kelly.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Barnes.
Aye.
And Gould.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Move on to item number 4.
Okay, again, on this third one, the California Regional Fire Academy has ceased operations at the facilities behind Station 21. And over the years, there's been an accumulation of agreements and equipment purchased and things located to support the regional fire academies. The California Fire Rescue Training Authority is still supporting academies, but they're done agency-specific academies, so the need for this equipment is changed. We also have a need to transfer the 727 from Metro Fire to the California Fire Rescue Training Authority, and this will be an exchange of assets that will roughly be equivalent and satisfy the need of both agencies.
Okay, any questions relative to action item number 4?
Yes.
Mr. Wood.
Sure. Larry, are we going to be able to take the aircraft coverage that we currently pay for that 727 off of our books then, when this transfer occurs?
Yeah, the assets will be owned by the JPA, and they'll need to be covered by the JPA.
So, yeah, we get to drop the
Great,
insurance.
thank you.
Okay, any questions relative to this item? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Chair, I believe I need a first and a second.
I'll be glad to afford the first on that.
Second.
There you go.
Thank you. Director Monk.
Aye.
Orzali. Clark. Scheidegger. Wood.
Aye.
Kelly.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Barnes.
Aye.
And Gould.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Davis, appreciate that. Okay, Board Clerk, your item number 5 is up now.
Item 5 before you this evening is the California Special Districts Association election of a representative for the Sierra Network Seat A. So there are 3 candidates that were nominated to this opportunity. The first is Noel Maddock of the El Dorado Hills Community Services District, Jim Barnes, our director here at Metro Fire, Frederick Gale of the Sacramento Suburban Water District. The board has the opportunity to nominate and vote for 1 candidate to be elected. Those ballots are due Friday, August 7th. And if there are any questions, I'd be happy to take those now.
Can we do this by acclamation?
Well, Mr. Chairman, if we've got till August 7th, I'd like to reconsider this carefully.
Mr. Chair, after great deliberation, I move that we vote for Director Jim Barnes to fill this seat at
I have a
CSDA.
I have a first and third and a fourth and a fifth by acclamation. Any concerns? Can we vote by acclamation then?
Acclamation.
There we go. Thank you.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, there are certain parameters within the legalese of the ballot, and it has to be, correct me if I'm wrong.
We have to call a
I read
roll.
the packet.
Oh, geez.
I will call roll.
There we go.
Director Monk.
Aye.
Orzali.
Aye.
Clark. Scheidegger.
Aye.
Wood.
Aye.
Kelly.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Barnes.
Humbly, I say aye.
Thank you.
and Gould.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much. Item number 6.
Item number 6 is a similar item. The Special Districts Risk Management Authority is seeking the election of representatives. You have the opportunity this evening to nominate 3 candidates. They are Robert Swan, the Director, President of Groveland Community Services District, Ed Gray, who's running as an incumbent of the Director, President, Chino Valley Independent Fire District, R. Michael Wright, who is the Director, President of Los Osos Community Services District, and Sandy Seifert Raffleson, who's also an incumbent and is the District Clerk at Herlong Public Utility District. You can select up to 3 candidates. You do not have to select 3. You can, whatever the pleasure of the board would be, to select candidates to serve as representatives on the Special Districts Board of Directors, and this ballot would be due August 25th of 2015.
All right, thank you very much. Members of the board, do you want to weigh in on our vote relative to these 3 candidates for the SDRMA?
Mr. Chairman, I believe that this one may take further consideration. As we've got an entire month to think about it, is there any opposition to having the opportunity to maybe look in and find out about some of these people?
Certainly, there are candidate statements that I know are included in our packets. Are you suggesting that we get more information beyond their candidate statements?
I was going to look for second-party endorsements.
Okay, all right, with that, we have a suggestion to table this and move it to the first meeting in July.
That would be
Or
the
we can
9th.
even go the second meeting in July since it's an August deadline. Any other concerns, questions?
The first meeting in July is set to be a strategic
Special.
planning meeting,
Right.
so it may not be a
So we'll go to the second meeting in July. Any other questions? Okay, we'll go ahead and table that to then. Thank you very much. With that, we'll move on to President's Report. I have no report this evening. We'll move to the Chief's Report. Chief Wells.
Well, good evening. Just kind of a shorter one than normal. We actually, senior management and our senior staff here is trying to send out short video clips in an effort to kind of our onion skin of messaging as it goes out. And so I just sent one out that was done very well by, not by me, of course, but by Michelle Idem, and she edits and puts those out into the sphere for our internal use. So hopefully the directors had an opportunity to see that as well on the intranet. We also, as in our preliminary budget, we had indicated that we were going to be removing Truck 26 out of service on July 1st, and that'll become Engine 26 on July 1st. So just informing everybody of that. That'll happen at 0800 on July 1st. I wanted to thank Director Kelly for, we had a good meeting as indicated by the board agenda tonight on from the CFRA last week, and a lot of important issues on the table. Great collective JPA with the City of Sacramento, the California State OES and us, Cal OES. And so a lot of projects moving along, a lot of complexity to that process, and so I was really happy with the input from Director Kelly, moving those issues along. On the 17th of June, I was at the Carmichael Kiwanis, a good opportunity to be out there in the community. I was on KFPK last Thursday, which will occur as it has in the last number of months. We're really focusing on fireworks safety and wildfire prevention and education and some of those things. Good opportunity for us. We met with the Sacramento County Fire Chiefs last week as well on the 18th. A lot of big issues being talked about. Fireworks is one, wildland, staffing, different issues as it relates to all the different regional fire departments. So that's a great committee that meets monthly, continuing to work forward on regional issues. Today is one of the days along in the USGA Senior Open. I know Chief Lozano was the incident commander this morning of that operation, and we have a great, robust operational commitment to that. As one of our fire stations, 106, is where everything's being worked out of. So good job there. And again, now it's up to 130,000 expected to attend this meeting. And I know there's a big traffic impact out in that area, but I think they're doing a good job. They're parking at Cal Expo and busing people over. So that's going well. As we discussed, meet and confer with myself and the labor reps is going well. Fire camp, reminder, July 7th through the 10th. This is happening at Station 21. Brenda Briggs and her group are well underway in the planning section of that, and great things to come, as usual, for that. Any of the board of directors have an opportunity to go out and participate in that. Highly recommend that. It's a great program, been going on for years and years, and Brenda does a great job with that. Let's see. And last, I'd like to say, we had Bob McDermott, firefighter Robert McDermott, retired effective June 12th, and that was 21 years of service. And we had a press conference yesterday for the regional fireworks. All the regional task force got together with a unified message, including CAL FIRE representing the state. And I think that's about it. Everything else is going pretty well, and busy season, of course. And so I wish everybody out there a very safe July 4th. We need people literally to use, I hate to say common sense, but fireworks should be a fantastic opportunity for families and groups to get together, neighborhoods. But it only takes a fraction of a second for somebody to lose concentration. The legal fireworks that are allowed need to absolutely be disposed of and used in accordance with what their manufacturer's recommendations are. No different than putting hot ashes into a bag next to your house in the wintertime. Hot, expended fireworks need to be submerged in a bucket of water and cooled and thoughtfully utilized from start to finish. Finish meaning discarded. So anyone have any questions or comments? I'd be willing to take those at this time. Otherwise, have a great 4th.
Questions for the chief on his report?
You let a term out on the radio that morning about mowing.
Yes.
You were talking about people mowing dry grass, and it's like running a mower over a field of matchsticks.
Correct.
Something of that nature.
Yeah, I think in the heat of the moment I came up with that, but but no, you know what? It's interesting that the statistics that were happening that week, because when we're on KFBK, we try to talk about things that are actionable in the last number of days and relevant to the season, and we literally had, I believe, 3 lawnmower fires that had happened, and one in particular had the burnt carcass of this riding lawnmower on a 1 or 2 acre grass fire. And so we absolutely want people to mitigate the fuels around their houses, give us defensible space. But you got to do it early in the morning and at a time, preferably not with a metal blade, with like a mow string ball, a nylon string, because you are creating a spark. And in these super dry, very hot, very low fuel moistures, it is literally going to light like a match. And I can tell you, it's going to move very quickly under these conditions. Any element of wind and or topography on a slope is going to make that thing go. And you're trying to do the right thing by mitigating the fuels, but in fact, you're starting a fire by doing it at the wrong time. So.
I see a lot of headlights on John Deere mowing tractors now at night.
Yes. Yeah, or early morning. Early morning is usually the best.
Okay. Other questions for the chief? All right, thank you very much. Chief Taylor.
Good evening, directors. Chief Wells, Darren Taylor, Deputy Chief Operations. Operations report since your last board meeting. Metro Fires responded to 3,954 calls. That was 14 working structure fires. And as you're going to be able to tell, the uptick on the wildland fires at 59 wildland dispatches since the June 11th. We've had 2,791 EMS dispatches. We transported 2,003 of those with a 72% transport rate. Our partners in the EMS for the county is AMR. They were 1 for 1, so they had a 100% transport rate. Since basically June 10th, as you guys have seen on the news, there has been some significant fires, one north and one just south of us. Metro Fire took part in the Master Mutual Aid, as we always do, and had resources both at the Saddle Fire and resources at the Corin Fire in Madera County. All of our resources and personnel are back in county now, and we'll just prepare for the next one. As Chief Wells stated, the U.S. Senior Open is going, and we do have a robust instant command system set up there at our Station 106 with our Metro Fire employees. But I would be remiss to say that we weren't in unified command with Sacramento County Sheriff's Department and the FBI, and the relationship that is going on there, the relationship building with our two organizations will go on for eternity in the friendship, because now you can know each other by name when you work with each other for 7 days and something so stressful like it is. So thank you to the Sacramento County Sheriff's Department for helping help us make that successful in our agency's boundaries. Our viewership since our May viewership was 1.8 million viewers for stories relating to Metro Fire. That is a market value of $155,000. And with the 4th of July coming up, as we do every year, we will be upstaffing our resources. So we'll have some extra rolling stock out there. We'll upstaff several Type 3 vehicles. Our Arson Investigator Task Force will be out, including a bunch of the command and senior staff officers that will be helping our battalion chiefs out there. And with that, that will end my report unless anyone has any questions.
Questions for Chief Taylor on the operations report?
Thank you, everyone. Have a nice night.
Appreciate it. General Counsel's report?
No report tonight.
Thank you very much. Item number 4, Firefighter Local 522 report. Any representatives from the labor? Seeing none, we'll move on to committee and delegate reports. I have no report for the exec team. Comm Center JPA Director Holbrook, I did not see him this evening. I don't believe we have a report from that group. We're moving along. Director Kelly on the Fire Rescue Training JPA.
Yes, since I last reported out, the JPA met, and more or less items 2, 3, and 4 on our agenda this evening was the bulk of what was discovered or discussed at that meeting. So glad to see those things get some traction, and encouraging the JPA to move a little quicker on approval of lease agreements for both the Zinfandel training site and lease agreements for the NESC, or not the CESC, excuse me.
Very good. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Finance Committee?
Finance Committee, next meeting will be July 23rd at 5 p.m., this location.
Policy Committee?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Policy Committee met tonight, and there was one item on the agenda. That was that to facilitate greater study and action in terms of preparation for the appropriate items, and on the Fiscal Committee agenda, we would flip-flop the order of the meeting. So henceforth, we are recommending that the Policy Committee will meet on the first meeting of each month, and the Finance and Audit Committee will meet on the second meeting date. We also then had a fabulous member of the community come and address the committee. Mr. Randall Orzali made a proposal that in the future, this body consider requests from staff, go through a process in terms of being vetted, that those requests be made in writing to the president of the board. The president will then poll the board, and if there is sufficient interest, the item and the appropriate response, data, etc., will be presented as an agendized item. If for some reason there is not interest on the board, the board members still can seek an answer to his question. It will go into more of a routine mill in terms of response date. That item was referred back to staff to look at existing policies, look for consolidation where appropriate, and come back with a proposal at the next policy meeting in terms of a recommendation as to how we proceed with that.
And Director, you meant that when a board member has a question that needs to be dealt with, not staff.
Right. Did I say staff?
You did, but that's okay.
Sorry, I meant a board member.
This is really an internal policy being
Right.
developed for members of the board.
Exactly.
When it comes to us requesting additional staff resources and time that it go through the process that you heard
Right, be
articulated.
submitted in writing to the board president.
Okay. Any other comments relative to the policy committee meeting?
That's it. Our next one will be determined. Our next
Okay.
meeting.
Thank you very much. With that, we'll move to board member questions and comments. We'll start with Director Monk.
I want to congratulate those members that reached retirement. Congratulations, long years of service. And want to congratulate all the people working on the Senior Open as well, because they're hot days out there, and it's a long, tedious effort to have us do a good presentation before the public. So congratulations to that. And working with the Sheriff's Office on a joint effort as well. That's great. So thank you.
Thank you. Director Orzali?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to put on my Public Safety Foundation hat for just a moment and express my appreciation to both Chief Wells and to Chief Walt White for meeting with us to discuss the Sac City's fire department becoming a developmental partner with the foundation. We're very excited about this. The goal was initially to create a regional public safety foundation to support the needs of all of the agencies, and having Sac City join is a very nice step in that direction. So my appreciation to them. I also want to express my appreciation to Brenda for the work with Fire Camp, having put on lots of kid programs. I know how much work this can be, and you do an amazing job, and hopefully we're being of some help to you. I know I personally try to be as big a nuisance as I possibly can, and from all feedback, I'm doing a heck of a job. So with that, thank you very much, and I look forward to being out there.
I don't even know what to say. Director Clark.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, I'd like to echo Director Monk's what he said about the USGA Senior Open, and wish those fellows out there, I hope they stay cool, because, I mean, a lot of these guys are not used to, the older guys, and they're not used to this 105 degrees, and it's going to be really, it's going to test them. The other thing is I'd like to congratulate Robert McDermott, especially, on his retirement, and also wish everyone a safe 4th of July.
Thank you, Director Clark. Director Barnes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A couple of things tonight. I got I would say, the distinct pleasure, June 4th, to go out to Station 51 and do a ride-along / have dinner with them. I hear all the food is good. They are correct. I was told they loaded that meal up since I was coming, but nonetheless, it was good. People that were there were Battalion Chief Chris Reed, Captain Michael McDaniel, Engineer David, I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly, Carrillo, Firefighter Travis Van Arnhem, and Firefighter Jason, it's either Eakin or Ekin, I couldn't remember, they're razzing him a little bit, and Firefighter Brandon Richardson. I'll tell you, you already know this, they're in your organization, absolute first class. The food was great. What's unique about that facility, it was mentioned last meeting, is it's a shared command right now with Sac City because their station house is being retrofitted. But the way they welcomed me, not only talking to me about what is going on, the concerns, they were very candid, which I appreciated. What I was most impressed with is we're sitting down eating to a open pulled pork face sandwich, which I appreciated. All of a sudden, an alarm went off, and their heads popped up like prairie dogs. And for the public who don't understand that, to pop up and just take off running, and I'm sitting there scurrying around thinking something's going on to the building, and they heard the tones, they heard the voices, they got in next to them. They were, before I can give them the battalion chief's car, they're already on the road and out. And doors are closing. I'm making sure I'm not getting hit by garage doors. We're going out, jump in the car, and we go. And respond to the fire. It was an electrical fire. The unique collaborative response was amazing. In everything that's going on with the sirens and radio traffic, you hear what they felt was Battalion Chief Reed felt that there was bleed over on the radio. And what I was most impressed with was that he was not leaving that scene until he found out what that was. And someone on scene made an announcement, but it was it was miscommunicated is what was going on. So yes, there was no fire. Yes, it was fine. We could have pulled right out of the parking lot, but no, we got out of the car, we walked up, he walked inside, found out, was it bleed over? Was there something wrong with the communication system? And that is paramount not only to the safety of the people that they serve, but the firefighters and everybody that shows up. So first class, absolutely enjoyed it. I was scheduled to go to 50. I had, for unforeseen reasons, I had to cancel, but Madam Clerk's gonna help me reschedule that, and look forward to that. Taking my hat off also and putting on another hat as part of the Guns N' Hoses Pig Bowl charity. There's a couple events coming up I would like people to put in their calendars. August 7th, there's a wine, brew, and food event at the Sacramento Marriott here in Rancho Cordova. And that'll be from 6:30 to 10. And a golf tournament will be the first one that they put on August 24th at Rancho Marietta. Those are all on the website at pigbowl.com. Again, all proceeds, the charities, recipients, Firefighter Burn Institute received an $8,000 donation from the charities of last year's event. So we continue to look forward to the support, the fire chaplaincy, and all that. Again, 4th of July, remember everybody, it's a part about coming together as a family, not blowing things up, setting fires. Be responsible, enjoy, have safe travels. And for the board and everybody, the recommendation, nomination for the seat, thank you. Humbly say thank you.
Thank you, Director Barnes. Director Jones.
Okay, well spoken, Jim. Thank you very much. I have 3 items. One is that there was a small fire in my neighborhood in the Parkway, I guess about 10 days ago or so. And to a person, when I spoke with my neighbors, they said, oh, the helicopter put it out right away. And that really resounded quite a bit for this director, because that shows how quickly our resources can respond to hard-to-reach areas, particularly in the American River Parkway. And I was just so pleased because it was very low-keyed and very matter-of-fact. Well, of course, the helicopter put it out. So thank you to all the folks involved in that operation. It kept it a small fire. As item number 2, as one of the founding members of the Fireworks Safety Task Force, probably going on about 20 years ago, I need to say I'm so proud that Metro Fire and our partner agencies have continued the education aspect, the informative aspect of this super, super important work. Yeah, fireworks, it's 4th of July, it is a family time, it can be such a fun time. It needs to be appropriately supervised and safety precautions done, and that means safe and sane fireworks and adult supervision and appropriate discarding of heated material. But it's just such a great event, the 4th of July, and I'm very much the pro-fireworks type person with safe and sane. It's a great community coming together for local streets, neighborhoods, great fundraiser for all of our local, so many local groups. And please, safe and sane and common sense like the chief said. And speaking of the chief, I think he'll qualify for the 50 and over senior tour if he ever gets good enough. Happy birthday, Chief.
Thank you. Okay, thank you very much, Director Kelly.
I would just like to wish the fire camp folks, Brenda, I've attended fire camp a number of times and had wonderful experiences each time. Probably won't be able to make it out there this year, but I wish it's a wonderful event, and I wish you the best of luck with it. I would also encourage the general public to be very careful on the 4th of July. I rode with a battalion chief last year. They had that very damaging, dangerous fire at Cal Expo, and I certainly hope that that this year that it's a quiet night. I'll be out of town, but I certainly know that our resources will be ready to go if they receive the call. So hopefully it's a quiet night for everybody.
Thank you, Director Kelly. Director Wood?
Brenda, thanks again for all you do with fire camp. It is a blast, and I'm looking forward to going out there on the 10th and watching the competition that afternoon. That's always exciting. Also, just want to remind everybody about the Tropical Affair for the Burn Institute Saturday. I'm looking forward to being there. If any of you can make it, do it. It's a great event, so everyone be safe. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Scheidegger.
Nothing to add.
Okay, I'll finish up this evening. First thing I'd like to do is make the public aware of the fact that on the Sac Metro website, we have the fireworks safety flyer. I'd encourage everyone to download it and print it. Also, if you're running a fireworks booth, this is an opportunity for you to print that document and provide it to families as they purchase their goods. And then one item that stood right off is how many times each year we see pets in our community that are left unattended and frightened and then lost or killed. I just ask all of us to make sure that we take our family pets and take them indoors so that we don't frighten them. But again, this was put together and we'd like it to be printed tens of thousands of times this year by individuals buying safe and sane fireworks. The other thing is fire camp. It's been talked a lot about. I'd like to do something just a little different. I'd like to, after fire camp, potentially have a young person that's been affected by that camp and parent that's been affected by that camp come and chat with us. One, so that directors can hear straight from those individual participants the impact it's had on them, and then also so that we can make it more, our community more aware of the fantastic work that's done for those, not only the children that attend, but their parents and some of the lessons that have been learned there. We've already celebrated the chief's birthday, which he is now 1 year older than 49. And so you can do that math and understand the impact that it has on him. We will be putting a few more ramps in near his car and then having oxygen available at the dais
Thank you.
At that point. And then finally, I'd like to finish this evening up with a moment of silence. Today we had 2 San Diego firefighters stabbed while attending a medical aid at a bus station. And one of them is in pretty serious condition, and so from what I understand. So I think tonight it's an appropriate night for us to, as those families are dealing with an unknown outcome, at least in one firefighter's case, that we have a moment of silence for them as we finish up our issues tonight, and then get ready for our 4th of July celebration, which we hope will be safe for everyone. So with that, we'll close this meeting with a moment of silence. Thank you very much. We're adjourned.